Hello, 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 world. This is Louise Hicks, your host of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. And in this episode, I'm going to share with you a video that I came across where Jim Clyburn of South Carolina was speaking about the young people and telling them to vote for Joe Biden. And based on my perspective and what I've read about what's going on in South Carolina with the Black community, Jim Clyburn is out of touch with the reality of the young people. And I am a baby boomer, and I don't know what generation he's from. He's a baby boomer or he's from most likely maybe the silent generation because I think he's in his 80s and he is out of touch with the younger generation, these Gen Xers, millennials, and the Zs. And we know from what I've seen, many of these generations have a lot of common sense. Some of them are out here, SOS, stuck on stupid, and sad, stuck in drowning. But there are many of them out here that have a lot of common sense. They're able to use their critical thinking skills. They're able to discern between the pandering and giving away their vote for nothing, particularly now that Black people are demanding that we get the debt that is owed to us, which is reparations. But you will not hear Jim Clyburn talk about reparations because he is pandering for the Democrats. And I am sick and tired of these corrupt politicians and those that are not politicians, but journalists or just podcasters out here pandering for these parties that are not economically doing anything for the Black community specifically. And even your vice president, Kamala Harris, said she wasn't going to do anything specific for the Black community. But when that Asian situation happened with those Asians being killed, she and Joe Biden specifically did something for the Asian community. And I'm not knocking that because other ethnic groups are demanding something for their votes. And you don't see these politicians out here going into these other communities, asking and begging for their votes. I've only seen them out here begging, 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 particularly the Democrats, for the Black vote. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Because they are used to the Black folks getting their vote, the Democrats. And now these young people, they're not going for that BS. They're not going for it. The younger generations that have discernment and common sense, and that the ones that are not SOS, stuck on stupid, and the ones that are not sad, stuck in drowning. And that's why they're out here talking the way they're talking with the likes of Jim Clyburn on the Democratic side and the likes of Ben Carson and Donalds, Byron Donalds on the Republican side, and these other Democrats, the Congressional Black Caucus. And we got to start holding these people accountable and holding ourselves and each other accountable for our vote because we're giving these votes and we're not getting a return on our investment. And I'm happy to see young people out here thinking critically with their critical thinking skills and utilizing their knowledge and doing their due diligence research and recognizing that we should be voting on policies. And what good is a vote if you're getting nothing in return for it? So, with that said, this man is out of touch with reality, and I'm going to share with you a brief video of him in this news clip where he is talking about young people and who they should be voting for, the Democratic Party. And I totally am not in alignment with his thought processes as a baby boomer. And it's just, it's frustrating and disgusting when I hear this type of rhetoric. and pandering. So we have to stop listening to these people like Jim Clyburn, who has nothing to offer the young people but a bunch of BS and nonsense. And I'm happy to see that many of these young people, particularly Black men, are no longer listening to this nonsense from these panderers. So let's listen to this. And by all means, again, I'm Louise Hicks, your host of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. Please subscribe, leave your comments, leave your likes, give it a thumbs up, and let's take a listen to what Jim Clyburn has to say, which he's out of touch. And this shows that he is out of touch with reality of, and he probably needs to go home and retire and sit down and enjoy the rest of his time here on the planet. Here we go. Listen to what he has to say.
You know, a new piece details the frustration young Black voters feel with the Biden administration. After you were so critical to helping him win these votes in 2020, quote, interviews with students at two historically Black colleges reveal a glaring generation gap, just a separation of what the students say is important to their lives and what older officials believe ought to be important. Biden wants to talk about broadband. The students want to talk about civilian deaths in Gaza. How does, Congressman, the president address this gap? Or do you believe that there isn't a gap to begin with?
Well, thank you very much for having me. There's no question about there is a difference in approach of younger people than those of us who are older when it comes to politics. We older people focus almost 90% of our time on substance. The younger people are more into style. And what we've got here is a classic example of some people selecting the style of the candidate over the substance of the candidate. Joe Biden has substantively delivered for the American people. You see it in every number. The fastest growing economy that in the world after COVID-19. So I would say to young people, as I have been saying, look, think about your futures. Think about which one of these campaigns offer you a better future. Is it the one that speaks the loudest, calling names, dealing in style, or is it the one that substantively delivers jobs, eliminate your student loan debt? We have the other guy who tried to get rid of the program. Joe Biden has forgiven $136 billion in student loan debt for 3.7 million people, almost $1 billion of that right there in South Carolina. And so we have to decide whether or not we want substance or style.
Okay, let's stop it. And I will give brief comments about what he just said, substance versus style. Joe Biden has been in office for just about 4 years, getting ready, so he claims, to embark upon a second term. And he could not even deliver his opponent, Donald Trump, in that presidential debate, so-called debate, I would say. So that was a disaster. And he is expecting the vote from younger generation. And this man is talking about older generation. I'm one of the baby boomers, older generation, and I'm not voting for either one of them. I'm not voting for Joe Biden, nor am I voting for Donald Trump. And I would tell everybody to vote your conscience. Look at what these Democrats have done over the years. Because if they had done so much for the Black community, why is the Black community still struggling? And I don't hear any of them talking about economic empowerment of Black people, which would be the debt that is owed, reparations. So we need to start asking these politicians the right questions and stop letting them get by on just a bunch of bogus rhetoric. And that's what we are allowing them to do. And it has been done year after year after year, decade after decade after decade. So let's start holding ourselves and each other accountable and hold these politicians accountable. Look at the Congressional Black Caucus. What are they there for? What are they doing? So we have to take a hard look at what we will be doing this coming November and stop listening to people like Jim Clyburn, who is obviously out of touch with the reality of what has gone on, probably because I did some research on his district over in South Carolina and how he has pretty much ignored his own community, the Black community, in terms of economic empowerment. And he talks about jobs. Black people are the most unemployed in America at this point to date, the most unemployed. So, what is he talking about? So, let's do some deep dive due diligence and think for yourself. You don't need the likes of Jim Clyburn to tell you who to vote for. And I'm certainly not going to tell you who to vote for or to go out and vote because that's your decision to make. Because I've made my decision. I'm not voting for either one because I see them as corrupt and as a one snake with two heads, Republicans and Democrats. And we need to start looking at some of our ancestors. Look at what they've gone through. Fannie Lou Hamer, for one, fought hard, died in early age because she was fighting just to vote. And she was beaten and thrown in jail. I mean, we've gone through a lot of atrocities. And what have we gotten? We're still out here struggling and fighting. So, what have the Democrats done over all these years? What have they done? Think about it. And listen to Dr. Claude Anderson. We have to start coming together and put that unity that's in community, put it in action because we must unify. And let's start with the block vote. Vote in unity together because that's the only way we're going to get our demands met, which should be the debt. That should be our priority. Reparations, the debt. So, with that said, again, I'm Louise Hicks, Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. Subscribe, leave your comments, give it a like, and by all means, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, subscribe, 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 share, share, share. And always remember, your power lies within you. Let it loose. Your destiny is your command. And until next time, I will be coming to you with another video. I'd like to thank all of my supporters, and you've been great in supporting me. And we have to continue to put that unity in community. And as again, I'm this mad Black woman, motivated and determined. That's what it stands for, to help support our people to a higher level of consciousness. That is the Black community. So with that said again, subscribe, 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 share, 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 leave your comments, give it a like, thumbs up, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you again and much love.